Good afternoon. Glad to have you join me, Kenneth.
Good afternoon, Ade. Thanks for having me on.
Now, what are your thoughts on the proposed borrowing plan of 7.8 trillion naira for the year 2024?
Well, I don't know what to say. There are times to smile in this country and there are times to be sad. And this is one time when you're in between whether smiling is best for you or being sad is actually the best for you. I don't think that I would just outrightly say it is ridiculous that we continue as a nation to perpetuate our economics on borrowing and borrowing and borrowing. Other nations have sovereign wealth funds that are planned for future generations that are yet to be born. It's the tune of about maybe 100 years' time. But we are planning for future generations that are yet to be born by heaping debt upon debt upon debt. I think we need to reconcile as a people the kind of economics we actually want to practice. Are we going Keynesian or are we going monetary? Are we expected as a people to synthesize monetary politics and Keynesian politics, or what kind of politics what kind of economics actually are we practicing? So I am not impressed by the need for us to borrow, especially because a couple of days ago, the Minister of Finance did say that the removal of subsidy has helped the government to save in the excess or in the estimation of about $1 trillion naira every month. So if we save $1 trillion naira every month over the next 7 months since May, what are we doing with this borrowing left and right, borrowing left and right? I don't think it will go well. It will augur well for the future of Nigeria.
In the present economic reality of Nigeria, we're looking at a projected 9 trillion naira in deficit. What implications might such borrowing have on the country's fiscal health?
All right, so you want to really take me into the academic plane now. For too long, we've been having budget deficits in our country. And we hope that one day we would arrive at a utopian state where we would actually have a budget surplus. Now, the deficit is usually necessary in times where you have high degrees of volatility and high degrees of inflation. But my observation of my dear country, Nigeria, over the last 1.5 decades is that no real economic policy actually works in Nigeria. Because we have a country where economics is overlaid, we actually use our budgets as a means, a tool for controlling expenditure and for promoting macroeconomic stability, economic growth, and development. Why is this the case? We usually have budgets that are either overinflated or that are padded or that at the end of the day are not properly monitored for proper implementation. As at 2006 and fast forward to 2003, we have over 2,000 different abandoned white elephant capital projects in Nigeria that have not and will never see the light of completion. All of these projects had budgetary allocations. So when we budget so much money to promote macroeconomic stability, the real question is, how does it promote social efficiency and how does it trickle down to, improving the standard of living of the common Nigerian man? As of today, we have 163 million living in multidimensional poverty. So for me, it is not the allocation and the setting aside of these sums or the appropriation of these sums that actually is a problem. It is the implementation, it is the monitoring, it is the execution of the budget, and it is making sure that the leakages that this budget permeates, this budget actually permit, are no longer there, so that they can actually have the benefits that of being saturated throughout the economy and emancipating the life of the 160 million Nigerians that are living in abject poverty today.
Kenneth,
that should be the future posture, and that should be the future, the strategic benefits of the budget.
If I may chip in there, Kenneth, you talked about projects. It's a good thing you mentioned projects. Now, let's take a close look at the total expenditure of 26 trillion naira outlined in the medium-term expenditure framework which has been said to span across a period of 3 years. I'd like to find out, what are the key sectors or areas prioritized within these expenditure plan?
Well, I wouldn't try to say that I've actually seen the plan. I'm going to go back and actually have to study it. But I would expect that, one, this expenditure plan should try as much as possible to reduce the size of government. In other words, reduce the monies being spent on government, recurrent expenditure, and look at strategic capital expenditure that will actually improve the employment situation, reduce inflation, stabilize the naira, the exchange rate, and obviously help us reduce the high levels of poverty in our country. So I will take a look at that document and actually try to perhaps peruse through it to actually find out if what allocations and appropriations have been made to particular sectors are justifiable. I would expect that there should be a focus on the manufacturing sector. I would expect that we should also begin to look at a way that we can balance sectoral integration so that we diversify this economy away from the dependence on oil. Now, the summary that I have looked at pegged the dollar at 700 naira and pegged the barrel of oil at $73 per barrel of oil. Now, what happens to the economy if the barrel of oil, the global prices for the barrel of oil goes down to 50 or goes down to 15? What allowances or what allocations have been made, for such deficits over time? So we need to start diversifying the economy. I do not know what to call this plan, whether we should call it a budget of consolation or of consolidation, but I think we should be looking at a budget that will actually diversify our emphasis on oil. That will be the appropriate and the right way to go if we want to start talking about serious recovery from an economy that has been seriously battered in the last 10 years.
Thank you so much for your time. Kenneth Ikenwa, a business analyst, thank you so much.